Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Damon Montero. One more time here to present some JavaScript content. Wait a minute, I'm on the python.org website. What I wanted to do here, I've been very interested in AI for a very long time, and there's a lot of things that AI, you don't really require Python, but some of the examples are Python, and I'd really like to see what's going on in there. As a master JavaScript person, as a person that's been living in JavaScript, as a person that's recently devoted themselves to JavaScript, like you, I remember that there are certain things I wanted to know. Now, Python, if I'm going to learn Python, you can have a million videos out there that show you this is what a class looks like, this is what an object looks like, this is how you set a variable, blah, 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 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But they don't show you what I'm about to show you. They don't show you the version wars. Oh, it's scary, it's scary. Don't worry about it. I'll give you some insights into it. They also don't show you how to grab an existing website, an existing great Python project, bring it into computer, run it so that you can run it, play around with it, modify it, look at it, and learn from it. We all are moving forward because of that. Also, perhaps how to create a brand new website. We'll talk about those type of things today. So, let's get to it. First and foremost, what is Python? Great language, blah, blah, blah. Look at other places to find out what it is. What I want to show you is how to get it on your computer. Yes, if you're on a Mac, if you're on Ubuntu, if you're on a Linux box, there may be a possibility you have you have Python installed already. This is true, but here's the key. You don't have the right Python. So there are a lot of times that we have Python 2 and the variants, and then we have Python 3 that are requirements, and we'll look at a little bit about that. If you go to the website, let's start with that. One of the things that you should know about is there was a big kind of Python version war. And these versions were when everybody wanted to stay on versions 2.7 to be precise. And then there are a lot of people, a lot of push by the Python community, by the Python creators, and everybody that we need to move on to Python 3. There were breaking changes on that. And Python has now reached to Python 3.12. The 1.2 over there would be things that could be changed majorly, almost in a year. So yes, if you're seeing Python 2, you're talking almost a decade behind there. And Python 3.7, which is something we're going to talk a little bit about, is also almost 5 years old at this moment. So why wouldn't you not just get the latest? Come onto the website and then go ahead and run it. Windows Python 3.12, that's the latest. There's breaking changes. And we'll talk more about this, but I want you to just be conscious. There are Python 2 projects, and there are Python 3 projects. And sometimes you will see a lot of the commands we're using with a number 3 against of it. We'll get to it in a second. But for example, when you want to run something, you'll run Python and then the name of the file you want to run. When that happens, those are ones that you have to be conscious that you may get an error and you just type in Python 3. Yes, the number 3 at the very end, or pip3. We'll go through all those things in a second, and you get the third version. But even if you install the latest version by clicking on here, on Windows, you must do that. Python does not come with Windows. And with the latest Mac, go ahead and just install it just to be aware of it. Usually what this will have is it'll have your specific version of the computer you're on in here. So for example, you're seeing a lot of things about Python for Windows, and if you're on the Mac, you will go to python.org and only see the Mac. Okay. So what does it mean as a JavaScript developer to install something for it? Let's get a look at it, and with an exact example. Here's a project that I like. It's a project that I made. At github.com/no_front_end, I've made a website with a YouTube video that you may have already seen on how to win a hackathon without a front end. Essentially, how to create a front end that looks beautiful without knowing how to create a front end. Who cares too much about this project? Let's get it cloned. I'm going to go ahead and choose to clone it here, open up the terminal, find my favorite place here for information that I like to code, a favorite place for me to put some stuff in there, and I'm going to git clone this project. Git clone, and I'm going to paste my URL. Your URL may look differently, just follow along with what your URL looks like. Then I'm going to go in there and, I'm going to go no, and I'm going to go in there, and I see it. Very nice. This is the whole directory. I'm not in Linux, so the ls didn't work. But you can see the project is here. I'm going to do what you normally do, which is open up my favorite IDE. Mine is Visual Studio. I want to go ahead and see how to run it here, and I've told by the great Damien that he just says Python. So I will type Python. First, let's check that I have it. Python version. It says 3.11. Maybe it's the right one. Maybe it's not. It is close to the latest, so let's go with it. And I'm going to go ahead and type in Python and type in index to py because that's the py.end of the file. And it's going to give me nice errors and all that. This is a 3.1, 3.10 and forward, kind of like much better errors than we used to have before. And I'm told, hey, wait a minute, you need to install all the dependencies. You need to essentially do the old npn-i, right? Grab the latest modules that this project needs and install on it. Now, if we do follow this, what we're going to do in a second, you'll see in a second, we won't really create a directory here with the node modules or the Python version of the node modules. We'll kind of do them globally. Now, this could be good or bad, but sometimes we don't want to mix different versions. And this is key here. Remember that in Node, what we've done in the past is use NVN. So we have to change our versions of Node with a Node version manager. When we do that, we can go ahead and try version 11 of Node or version 20 of Node for this particular project. We don't have this kind of a worry and this kind of an issue with most projects in Node, but in Python, this is a concern. So sometimes we want to choose to sort of wrap everything together so we can use version 15 of this particular library, but version 17 of that particular library somewhere else. How do we do it? First, we're going to run the following command. Now, actually, before we do that, npm, the installer for other languages, let's just say we were creating a brand new project, let's just say it was empty here, we would do things like pip install, and then different projects. Let me look at this particular project. I'm going to click on it. Don't worry about it if you don't understand much, but in here it says import Streamlit. This particular language, this particular library is wonderful. Let's not go into it right now, and I could go pip install stream, and I'm going to install it globally. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do here is this needs to be installed globally. I'm going to use something called VEMV. So how do I run that? Python -m VEMV and then the name of the environment. Out of what I've seen a lot on different things is we tend to choose. We can choose any environment name we want. This is essentially naming what you got on there. This good name for this one could be what the project does. The project is called no front end. Or we could go and do the common thing you'll see a lot, which is called VEMV. Now, again, the first VEMV is the command, and the second is the variable, the choice that we want for essentially naming what is essentially our node modules. And you'll see, once this runs, you'll see a VEMV directory on the left-hand side. Then we have to activate it. This is a little bit different in different environments. In a lot of them, you have to do source, VMV, scripts, activate. This will not work on Windows. So I do VMV, scripts, activate, and I now have the VMV environment in there. What that means is from now on, if I do pip install anything, it will do it in that directory at the very top. You should choose to git ignore that directory. In this case, surprise, I knew what directory I was going to use it, so I've git ignored several of the ones that a lot of people use, including the one I mentioned before. This kind of environment. You don't see it here, but the VMV is there. So GitHub, even though I've added a new directory, Git, realizes there's no missing directories. There's nothing we've added to this project because we're ignoring the one that I created. Again, the node modules, like we ignore node modules when we do projects in Node. Okay, so, but we still haven't, I've been chatting, but we haven't really installed the libraries. How do we do that old npn-i that will look at the package.json? Remember that on Node? Well, we do things a little bit differently. There's two ways. The first way is something called requirements.txt. Now, a lot of times you will see just a single word here or a bunch of words listed one after the other. What that means is these are all the packages as simply as possible. I got a pretty sophisticated one. It has a comment on mine and it has the exact version of it. And what I'm going to do here is run it here. So I'm going to go Python -m VMV. Oops, my apologies. I'm going to go pip install require -r requirements.txt. So pip install is the npm I, and it will install whatever library you want. If you do -r and you give it a file name, because it doesn't have a particular format, it doesn't always know that it's called requirements.txt. We all kind of do as developers as a common practice and all that. But it's installed all the libraries. If you'd like, you can go in here and start looking around for some of these directories in here. You'll find that some directories will have the new the libraries we've just installed here. At this moment, I can't remember where it is that it's coming in here, but trust me, in the node modules, you would find the libraries. Here, we will find the same libraries. Let's not even worry about that right now at this moment. We're ready to go. At this moment, we can run this program. And again, I'm going to go ahead and clear this. And normally it would be Python, and then the name of the file. Like we do node and the name of the file, index.py, py being the initials for that and all that. So have to spell it right. That is not a Python thing. That's a program thing and all that. So we're going to run it here. And in this situation, because I've used a library that requires me not to start it this way, a different way, it lets me know, hey, dude, you have to run it this way. And I can go ahead and run it, and it would work. We've done our job. We finished our website. And now the project is ready to go. I won't bore you with running it. In fact, I ask you to run it yourself. You're ready to go here. Just follow that command right now if you follow along with me, and that program will run. But this is not about that. What this is about is finding out what you can do for the next project. Now you're like, my project, Damien, that I found doesn't have a requirements.txt. Or they're talking about environment.yaml. What is that? Let me open it. Now this is a much more sophisticated file. And it's similar, again, to the package.json. In fact, it's very similar and very sophisticated. Remember how I chose the name being VEMV to be the environment, the node modules, the place where my libraries lived along with this project and solely project, so I could make a library using version exactly 15 or 14 of this one? Remember how I mentioned that we could choose the name? Well, there it is. The system will name it here. Over here, we've chosen something we'll talk about in just a second. So let me just put you aside for 1 second. Over here, also, we've even specifically asked for a particular version of Python. Remember that a little bit earlier? So maybe this particular library doesn't work on the latest version. This surprisingly is very common nowadays. We will find the latest version 3.11. There was some breaking changes in 3.11 and some in 3.10. So you'll find that there's some projects, don't just willy-nilly change it, that require an older version of Python. Now, that's a problem. So this is a more sophisticated version of the requirements.txt. It will have the name of the environment. Remember that place where all the libraries live. Ignore this one for 1 second. We'll talk about that in a second. It has the version of Python, and you'll be like, it's going to install a new version of Python? Slowly and only in this environment. And then it has all the required libraries that truly the software did. Like all the stuff above was just a nice to have in here. Now what I'm going to do at this moment, just to showcase with this, is going ahead and create it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and utilize some of the specific versions where we create this using a different program we'll talk about in just a second. Conda env create -f environment. And yes, that is a common way of doing this. In fact, you can see that the common way is without the A. So it's normal for it to be environment.yml, or recently it's common for it to be environment.yaml. So the file is there. When I go ahead and click on it, what it's going to do is do similar to what we saw a second ago, where it created a new environment specifically for this. So let's see, we have no file name. Okay, well, I think I just have a typo, so I'm going to go ahead and type it again. Environment.yaml. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and make sure that it's running here, and this one, all that. So what we're going to see in a second is that this is a more sophisticated, and I know we used a different command, and we'll go to that in a second. Conda or Anaconda is something we're just going to go into. You may have already heard it, just bear with me. My point in this is that once we finish running this, we will have a special environment called no front end. You'll see that folder in a second be created on the left-hand side. Second, it will, once activated, run a special version of Python. If I want to, I'm going to just so quickly remind you, I'm going to go back to the terminal here, and it is working on the background. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to go Python minus minus version. The version installed on my computer is 3.11.5 or 3.11.5 if you wish. The 11th version of the third library, the third version of Python, right? So the 3.11 version. So remember that my computer has the Python 3.11. Now I'm going to go ahead and minimize it, and as it works, you will see in just a second, again, I'm just kind of rambling on to talk about this information, that Python 3.9 will be running. So I won't worry, I won't pause it on too much, but I'll go ahead and remind you of how to create those type of things in just a second. So let's think about what we're doing so far. At this moment, what we so far worked on, all that. We're able to download a project just like with anything else. We're able to create a brand new environment with the Python V, right? We had the, over here, I may have erased it. We did the Python, unfortunately, it looks like I erased it. I have it here in the README. I asked you to go ahead and type in Python minus V, VEMV after installing it. We'll talk about how to install it in a second. After installing, you can Google that. Python minus V, let me put it in a way that it's a little bit easier to read here. Python minus V minus M, VEMV, that's the command. Then afterwards, the name of the environment. I happen to have chosen the command and the name of the environment to be the same. It's really to confuse you and all that, but you can imagine something else in there. And then once you've done that, we install all the requirements using this. So that's a two-pronged express. In fact, there is a way with the VEMV to say what we did in the other one, which is on top of that, make a special version of Python that we want to be using here. Let's see if this is still going here, it's still going here and all that. So one of the things that we have to remember is that there is sometimes some things that we have to think about when we're doing the particular project and all that. So as this goes along, just trust me, it's going to create a new environment called no front end. So there's one line that creates the environment, one line that installs the dependency, and one line that creates a Python, as in a single line that did all this. This line here that I've highlighted here did all those three things that we used to do manually before a second ago. Just you and I learned about it a second ago in one line. Why? Let's talk a little bit about that. Python has a particular kind of way that they want to enqueue. So Anaconda came around. Python's very big in the data analytics world. So Anaconda came around, the organization, which is now named Anaconda, and created a download. And this particular download takes care of a lot of things together, even some things we might talk about in the future. It creates a single easy way to install Python. It creates Conda, the command for which Anaconda is called, right? So Conda, like the Anaconda without the A and A. I guess they wanted to save us some typing fingers. So only so many key stores we can type. And using that command, we have a benefit of being able to achieve a much higher version, a higher way of creating an environment. And also, we get a ton, thousands if you wish, fundamental data science and AI and ML packages pre-installed in your computer without thinking about it, including, and I'll leave this just for you to research, Jupyter, spelled with a Y, notebooks. And that's another whole video that I can do. I might do that another day for you to learn. So what they've done is they've said, Python is great, it's wonderful, there's too many steps, there's all these libraries you need to install, you'll be there working and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to use this library, and you're like, you need to install it first, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on an airplane, what's going on, or in a bookstore with a slow internet, what can we do? Let's put all these things together in a single small place where you don't have to worry about it and you install it gently. Easily. And of course it has some latest of these technologies and things like that. So let's talk about that. So there are benefits to doing Conda. There's some pre-installed software you get with Anaconda. So one of the things you could do to install is not go to python.org, but just simply go to Conda. Go to anaconda.com/download install. It installs the latest Python. gives you all that conda magic that you'll see to get some information, installs a bunch of packages you will definitely start using and you will go crazy loving it all this while, and gives you all the benefits. We've done that. So both of them are pretty good. Last question some of you might have is npm.js is our way, let me scroll to it, all right? npmjs.com is a way for us to look a particular environment up there. So I'm going to go dot.net. So this is a particular one of my favorite packages. I can click on it. I can find out who created it. I can find out how to use it, how to install it in my package. I can download how to download it. What if there was a way that we could do that the same way? And there is. pypi.org is the way to do that. For example, I'm going to look for one is exactly the same kind of environment. It's called load.env. It's not .env, that's the wrong package name. That's what it's called on Python. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to make sure it's the latest, and now we have the exact same thing we said a second ago. We have descriptions, we have how to use it, how to install it. Remember, pip is the old npm in the Python world. We have how many people have downloaded it, who created it, what are their GitHub repos. Maybe we can submit a bug on their information, and so this is how we can do things on Python. So let's just go back to our project here. We've now still going there, so I'll just leave it alone. One of the things that we sometimes want to do is we want to be able to create some new projects and all that. The npm init is pretty much the same. We would create our own requirements. We would create our own environment YAML files. You can use my example for these as you wish. As you have to pip install something for your project, if you're working this project, it took me a while to create this project. You can see it be typed live in this YouTube channel. But as you do with it, whenever there was a particular library I needed to install, I would of course pip install, and then I would make sure to add it in there. One last thing, there is an opportunity here. If you are in a particular location, for example, here I am at the front end, I'm going to do the same thing we did before. Scripts, activate. Let's go ahead and activate that. And I can do pip freeze. And what that will do is I will spit out everything that we have there. No, that not freeze, because it wasn't that cold with two E's. And it will spit out something. And then we can go this command where you go, requirements.txt. And again, there is the reason why it doesn't go straight into that file will be because of the fact that our requirements is kind of like the known thing that we all do. Okay, it isn't a predefined like package.json where npm directly interacts with it. Pip essentially does everything globally first and then interacts with them as you need them at the right situation. Okay? So this has been David Montero. I hope you have a great time with this. This was the Python basics of things that I didn't know, and I could watch a million different things. I could sit here and explain to you, hey, arrays in Python are lists. Oh, functions in Python are def. DEF, like defined. Oh, objects are called dictionaries. Tuples are read-only objects. You don't do null, you do none. You don't do true with lowercase, you do true with a capital uppercase T, because that's even difficulter than to type than regular underscore. True. There's a lot of different things that we could talk about, but you're going to learn that from other videos. What I've now shown you is how to set up a brand new project, how to essentially create a brand new project, how to get some project that you found somewhere, running it locally, so you can inspect it, open it up, look at what's going on, look at the different things, read what you should do, read what's going on, and figure out exactly what to do. I hope this has been very helpful. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you the next time. Bye.